Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you've ever had that feeling, that pit of despair staring at a language learning app,
Oh, yeah.
realizing you've spent maybe 6 months learning how to order a very specific type of coffee, but you still can't hold a real conversation,
Know the feeling.
then you know the struggle we're talking about.
Yeah.
This overwhelming pressure to master, every grammar, every vocabulary word, every writing step. It's just too much.
It is. It's the definition of academic overload, really. And we've been diving into this fascinating stack of sources this week that suggests most people are, well, they're coming at language learning completely backward.
That's just a little bit backward.
No, this isn't just a small tweak. It's like a radical surgery on the whole process.
Wow.
The system we're looking at, it basically says you should bypass mastery altogether and just learn the functional bits, the specific essential fragments for what you actually want to do.
Okay, so that's the core question for our deep dive today. Can artificial intelligence, can AI, truly give us a shortcut to functional communication by focusing on these language fragments?
Right.
Because the claim here is massive. It's that traditional methods aren't just slow, they are a waste of time, a documented waste of time, creating this huge gap with real life. And this new way, it promises to save months or even years.
And that time efficiency, that's really the central argument, and it reframes the whole thing. You're not a student trying to, swallow an entire academic field.
Right.
You're more like a project manager defining a very, very specific scope.
Yeah.
And the AI is the tool, the surgical tool, that lets you do that.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The waste of time claim. That's a strong indictment of, well, how most of us were taught. Why does that learn everything approach fail so badly for the average person?
I mean, what it really boils down to is misaligned effort and just the sheer scale of it all. The material we looked at points to two huge problems. First, the time sink. Just trying to master the full language at once. All the grammar, the literature, all of it. It's described as almost impossible for anyone with, a normal
A
life.
job, a family.
Exactly. Just look at vocabulary. A textbook throws thousands of words at you, and 80% of them are totally irrelevant to your actual day-to-day life.
Exactly. It's all this dead knowledge you carry around.
Yeah.
And the sources talk about this reality gap. You're taught these sentences, these grammar forms that are sure technically correct, but no native speaker would ever actually say them.
That whiplash, that's where the frustration is. The whiplash between the theory and what happens in the real world.
That's the time waste.
That's the time waste. One of the authors mentioned that after 2 full years studying a complex language, I think it was Vietnamese, using traditional methods, they realized they were great at writing formal prose. But they couldn't, buy something at a local market because real people speak more directly, more emotionally, and with many shortcuts.
So the textbook teaches you this super formal way to ask where the bathroom is, but then everyone on the street just uses a simple contracted phrase.
Exactly. And you've just wasted weeks mastering a structure that fails you in the moment you need it.
And that just kills your motivation. So this frustration, this is what led them to the big idea. If learning everything is a non-starter, why not just focus on the parts you absolutely need?
This is the concept of making it purely purpose-based.
The ultimate pragmatic shift.
It is. I mean, your goals are different from mine, right? Maybe you need to negotiate business deals. I just need to get around on vacation. So the sources argue we should each learn a different set of language patterns. The goal isn't perfection. It's not writing an essay. It's just, can you function right now?
And it gets so specific. I love this idea of skipping everything that doesn't serve your purpose, like the if-then scenarios they lay out.
Yeah, so if your goal is just short-term travel,
Okay.
you focus only on patterns for, say, smart calls, asking for help, transportation, figuring out prices. You just skip all the complex grammar, the subjunctive tense, all of it. It just doesn't matter for that goal.
But then if your goal is business, you flip the script completely.
Totally. Then you need negotiation patterns, formal email phrases, polite forms, reporting language, and you completely ignore all the casual slang you might use with friends. It becomes this very precise training module.
And for just casual conversation, hanging out with friends.
Then you do the opposite. You skip all the stiff, formal textbook stuff, and you learn the contractions, the idioms, the way people actually talk in real life. It just forces you to align your time with your actual goal.
Okay, but this raises a critical question, and I'm sure people listening are thinking this too. If you hyper-focus like this, don't you lose all the nuance, all the cultural context that's baked into the formal language?
That's a vital point. And the authors are very clear on this. This system is about functional communication efficiency.
Right. Efficiency, not mastery.
Not academic or cultural mastery. They acknowledge that trade-off. Their argument is that if you can speak, listen, and interact right away, you start to pick up those cultural nuances organically as you go.
So you get 80% of the conversational ability for 20% of the effort.
That's the idea. And if you decide later you want that other 20%, that deep cultural knowledge, you can go get it. But you already have a functional foundation to build on.
You've got an anchor, so you don't drown in all the information.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you know what to skip? I mean, that's the hardest part. And this is where the AI becomes, well, indispensable.
Indispensable is the right word, because without it, trying to find these language fragments is almost impossible. There aren't any textbooks for, software contract negotiations in Spanish for the tech sector.
Good point.
Right. You'd spend months just trying to filter a normal textbook for the phrases you need before you even started studying. That's why the AI is not just a nice to have, it's essential for this to work.
So let's break down what the AI is actually doing. The sources point to two main functions. The first is pure personalization.
Yes. The AI gives you the exact language fragments you need. It can pull real-life examples that match my work from this huge database of actual conversations. It helps you find those tiny pattern expressions that are, almost invisible in a textbook.
Okay, and the second function is the filter. Synthesis and comparison. This is where the real-time saving happens.
I think so, yeah. It lets you compare traditional explanation versus real-life usage.
So give me an example.
Okay, so a textbook might spend 5 chapters teaching you the formal future tense. It's a staple of language class.
Right.
But then you ask the AI to analyze millions of real-life conversations. And the AI comes back and shows that, hey, 95% of the time, native speakers just use the present tense with a time marker. They completely bypass that formal future tense you spent weeks on.
So the AI basically says, here's the theory, but here's what people actually do.
Exactly. And that comparison gives you the confidence to just skip everything that is theoretically correct but functionally useless for your goal. It's the ultimate reality check.
The way they frame it in the source
Yeah.
is so powerful. It's not just a tool anymore. It becomes your personal language department.
Yeah, that analogy is great.
But is it hyperbole? I mean, a whole department? Where does the AI actually deliver on that big title?
Well, it delivers by basically consolidating all the roles you'd need. It's your dictionary, grammar teacher, speaking partner, translator, sure. But the critical part is that it's also your content creator.
Okay.
It curates and generates study material based only on your goal. And most importantly, it helps you identify what is necessary and what is not. It does the heavy lifting, the data analysis that used to take forever.
And that customization leads to these really high efficiency numbers they talk about. Which brings us to the tangible plan, the 90-day plan. That sounds incredibly ambitious.
It is ambitious, but it's only possible because the focus is so narrow. What they're pushing for is building this highly customized 90-day pattern system.
The system.
A system focused only on the high-frequency verbs, the core expressions, the key vocabulary that directly match your specific purpose.
So for a traveler, that 90-day system might just be 30 essential sentence structures and, 500 keywords.
Exactly that. Once the purpose is defined, you only build the material for that purpose.
Yeah.
And that structure, that's what saves you the months or even years you'd waste on a traditional linear curriculum. You're not starting with the alphabet, you're starting with your first real conversation.
And it really leans into this idea of the power of limited expression. The sources say that even with a pretty small vocabulary, you can still communicate surprisingly well.
Because the goal isn't perfection, it's just being able to speak, listen, and interact in your situation.
Pure functionality.
Pure functionality. If you can get your idea across, if you can achieve your goal, whether that's closing a deal or just ordering dinner, the language has done its job. And that leads to this really compelling conclusion they reach.
Which is?
That trying to learn, say, 4 complete languages using the old methods is it's unrealistic for most people.
But learning the necessary part of 4 languages.
The functional chunks. That's suddenly completely possible with this AI-driven approach. It stops being this huge academic mountain to climb.
And it becomes a series of targeted, almost engineering tasks.
Exactly. It's pragmatic efficiency. If you have the essential patterns, you can engage. And engagement is the key that unlocks everything else.
So to summarize our whole deep dive here, the solution they're presenting is actually pretty clear. Learn what you need, skip what you don't. Use AI to find those real-life shortcuts, Build a focused 90-day system around your specific purpose and just focus on functional, real-world communication.
And, this whole model, this idea of just taking the necessary part, it raises a much bigger question that goes way beyond language.
How so?
Well, it suggests that maybe effective learning in any complex field coding, finance, you name it, requires you to define a clear, practical purpose first, before you commit all that time to mastering the entire body of knowledge.
So define the target first, then find the most efficient path there, even if it's fragmented. It forces you to ask, what percentage of everything I could know in my field is actually necessary for what I do every day? So what specific language need or what complex topic are you going to define for yourself this week? Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.